We live in a crazy and fast-paced world. There is so much information coming at us all the time, so many things to do and keep up with, so much going on, that sometimes we really just need to cut back and simplify if we want to be able to really focus and do our best creative work. It's so much harder to concentrate on the process and really get in the zone when you've got so much going on around you. And so today's video is going to be all about how living more simply will help your creative business. So a little bit of my own story. After I had my first son, I started to get into the whole natural world. I wanted to get more healthy and take good care of everything, you know, for my own sake, for my son's sake, family, everything. So I started looking at, you know, natural cleaning products, eating more clean and healthy, natural skincare. And as I delved into that whole world and started learning more about it, I also started to learn more about the slow and simple way of living, about decluttering, about slowing down, about being more intentional and living a more slow-paced life so that you can better enjoy things and live a more enriched life rather than this fast-paced, quick-fix world. And what I've learned as I've made adjustments in my own life is how much that improves your business as well. Because with less going on and being more efficient and slowing down, you've got the energy and the creativity and the flow that you need to create better creative work. So here are some of the ways that I found a more slow and simple life can help your creative business. First of all, by eating in a more intentional and healthy way, and by eating foods that are really nourishing and taking your time with it all, you're going to have so much more energy and going to feel so much more alert and focused. I have to admit, I was the kind of person that lived on things like chocolate, cheese, white bread, pasta, all those kind of foods, and I'd often find that by the afternoon I was always feeling really sluggish and tired and would be struggling to concentrate on my work. But once I made that shift and started eating more healthy foods and more simple foods, you know, like just fruits and vegetables, and trying to eat in a more healthy way, that I suddenly had more energy. I was able to focus better and didn't have those slumps where I found it hard to just push through. It was so much easier to focus and do better creative work. And that's certainly helpful when you've got children as well. I also found that by doing things like going for walks and getting out in the sunshine more, that I was able to clear my head and really think through things and come up with great creative ideas. By stepping away from the fast-paced computer world and the life at home and just slowing down and walking, I was able to really work through ideas. I was constantly coming up with great creative ideas and also things to write about. Just that simple act of going for a walk became huge fuel for my business. Living slow also means less multitasking, which is so good when it comes to focusing on tasks, because the reality is we can't actually multitask. What actually happens is we end up switching. So our brain keeps switching back and forth from one thing to another, and it actually takes our brain time to recalibrate and switch from one task to another. They say it actually takes us about 20 minutes to get back into the zone when we start switching tasks. And so by simplifying, you can start just focusing on one thing at a time, or doing batch work where you say, okay, I'm going to do lots of this particular task all at once, and you can just really get into it and focus on it rather than thinking, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and, you know, overloading yourself and actually not getting anywhere. And as well as the walking, just having everyday slow moments, you know, sitting down in a chair and having a cup of tea, sitting outside in the sunlight for a bit. All those things may seem from the outside not very productive, but they're actually very productive when it comes to creativity, because they're the times that your brain really needs to work through ideas and to process things, because we're constantly bombarding ourselves with information, that if we take that time to slow down, that's when we process it. That's where we put the pieces together and start creating. Living more simply also means less stress, because let's face it, life can get pretty stressful, especially when you're trying to run a business, and even more so when you've got children as well. And so if you can live more simply and have less going on, then you're going to be less stressed. I especially find that when it comes to the home. So keeping things more simple and decluttered makes things feel less stressful, because there's less to take care of, less to pick up, and I know where everything goes, and everything just feels calming because everything has its own place and it's not just a big crazy mess. It also means less choice fatigue. Even those everyday choices we make take up brain power. Things like choosing what you're going to wear for the day and what you're going to eat for the day, while they may seem like not that big of a deal, they take out brain power with that choice you've got to make, and it's decision fatigue. And so the more you can simplify, the less you're going to have to be making those decisions. Now, some people people go as far to wear the same thing every single day. And I'm not saying you have to go that far, but look at ways you can cut back and simplify. Maybe it's having a smaller wardrobe so there's less choice. Maybe it's always having certain meals on certain days so that you're not having to think through what you need to be eating that day, or prepping all your food for the week on just one day. So doing things where you either batch or make decisions all in one hit so that the rest of your week is easier. Another thing I like to do is on Sundays plan out my week in terms of my business too. So deciding each day what kind of tasks I'm going to be tackling so that when I wake up in the morning, I'm not either dictated by my email inbox or going, what should I work on today? But I've got that list going, okay, today I'm working on this task. So the more you can simplify and cut down those decisions, the better. And flowing on from that, living more simply is going to give you more clarity and direction because you're cutting back all the craziness and really deciding what you're trying to do, what your processes are, what your goals are and what you're trying to achieve, and not trying to do 50,000 things at once, but just being focused and saying we're working on this and we've got this process and this is all the steps to try and get to where we're trying to go. And it just gives you that clarity and you just feel like you know where you're going rather than trying to do a bit of this, trying to do a bit of that and feeling a big hot mess. And finally, decluttering your space and making things more simple gives you a clearer mind. So no more having stuff all over your desk or all around the room or just piling everything into a box, but having systems in place, simplifying, getting rid of the stuff you don't actually need or use, and just keeping it to those things that you really do need or the things that just really bring you lots of joy, rather than having just clutter that's there just in case or because you just can't get around to dealing with it. So some quick ideas to bring more simplicity to your life for a better business. Number one, find meditative things that you can do with your hands or your body that let your mind do thinking. So this could be things like sitting down and doing knitting, or it could be going for a walk or a bike ride, or doing colouring in or some kind of craft. Basically using your body in a way where you're not having to do much thinking, so then your mind can do the thinking. It's a great way to just slow you down and just let your mind wander and think, and you're using your body, so you're not just laying about and doing nothing, but it's sort of more meditative. Another great tip is to change up your environment. So if it means decluttering your office or sometimes doing some work outside, basically just changing things up and making things feel fresher and more simple. And while we're on decluttering, make decluttering a regular thing you do. So don't just think, oh, I've decluttered, done now, and then let things pile up again. Make it part of your routine so that you're regularly setting aside time to go through things, get rid of stuff you don't need, so that you're constantly keeping your space clean and calm. Next, make small changes to live a more healthy life. So if this means starting to do a little bit more exercise or starting to eat a bit better, you don't have to overhaul your lifestyle all in one hit, but just make little changes, and those little changes can build up and make you feel more energized and help you focus better. Next, assess your life and business. So look at all the processes. What are you doing right now, and how can you simplify, cut back, or create a better process? So it could be finding ways to batch things, or cutting out things that aren't actually serving you, or giving yourself less decisions so that you're not getting so much decision fatigue. Really look at what you're doing all the time and how you can simplify. So I hope this video has helped and inspired you, and you're going to start looking for ways that you can simplify your life so that your creative business can flourish more. And don't forget that if you want to learn more about creativity, graphic design, and branding, then be sure to subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you next time.